My son whispered, "You don't belong here," while his in laws laughed. I quietly left. That night, my daughter in law asked about the monthly transfer. I replied, "It's over." By morning, everything had changed. My son whispered, "Trash belongs outside." His words sharp enough that everyone around smirked. I took my husband's hand and walked out without a word. Later that night, my daughter in law texted asking for the monthly transfer. I replied, "Not anymore." Everything that followed began in that single moment. My name is Evelyn Hartwell. I am 60. The night had started the way all W. Cliff family gatherings did: tight smiles, clipped politeness, and the quiet pressure to perform gratitude. Nathan and Bethany insisted on hosting dinner at her parents' home in South Park, saying it was simpler. Simpler usually meant I was expected to stay small, speak softly, and let the Y Cliffs dominate the room. I did what I always did. I sat straight, listened, tried to be agreeable. Martin stayed close to me, his hand occasionally brushing mine under the table. He sensed things before I said them. The moment came without warning. Someone joked about outsiders not understanding real etiquette. Another smirked, and then I turned to Nathan, meaning to touch his arm, to break the tension the way mothers do when rooms grow sharp. He looked at me only for a second. His lips moved, almost invisible, but clear as a slap. Trash belongs outside. I felt it more than I heard it, a private little message delivered like a shared secret between him and the people who smirked around him. People who had never lifted him through student debt, car repairs, hospital bills. People who never knew the cost of raising a son when you had nothing but overtime pay and a belief he deserved more. Martin saw my face fall before I fully understood what had happened. He reached for my hand under the table, his fingers closed around mine. "Steady and warm, we're leaving," he murmured. I did not argue, I did not ask why. I simply rose. No one tried to stop us. The White Cliffs glanced briefly, the way people do when a server drops a tray in a restaurant. Nathan's eyes slid away. Bethany studied her plate like it held answers. Outside, the air felt too thick. Martin guided me toward the car, his silence gentle, not empty. We drove home without the radio. The words clung to me, soft and poisonous, turning over in my chest like something trying to bruise its way deeper. By the time we pulled into our driveway, my phone buzzed. Bethy's message appeared on the screen. Casual and cold. Monthly transfer today. I stared at the words, then typed back slowly, deliberately, not anymore. I set the phone down and walked inside, knowing the night was not finished with us, and the next chapter of our lives had already begun. The house was quiet when we stepped inside, the kind of quiet that presses on your ribs. Martin hung his jacket on the chair instead of the hook, a small sign his mind was elsewhere. I stood in the middle of the living room, hands still trembling from holding my phone. He spoke first. "Aveen, what exactly did Nathan say?" I sat down slowly. "You saw it? You know what he mouthed?" "I did." He admitted, voice low. "I just need to hear it from you." I swallowed. He called me trash right there in front of them, and they smirked like they taught him how. Martin sat opposite me, elbows on his knees. "I should have said something sooner. I have watched them chip away at you for years. The little jabs, the looks, the way Bethy's parents talk over you." He exhaled hard. "I failed you by letting it go." "You did not fail me," I murmured. "I let it go too. I told myself it was for Nathan, for peace." Martin lifted his head. "Peace should not cost you your dignity." His words stung because they were true. I had stretched myself thinner than anyone knew. I quietly covered the occasional unexpected expenses, student loans, car repairs so they could get by. I texted Bethany. I said quietly, "I told her the transfers are done." Martin nodded as though he had been waiting years for that sentence. "Good," but he did not smile. His shoulders eased only a fraction. "They will not understand," I whispered. He reached across the table, taking my hands in both of his. "They do not have to. You and I know what has been given." His thumbs brushed my knuckles, steady and sure, grounding me more than any breath could. The phone vibrated on the table between us. One message, then another, then several more. I did not pick it up, not yet. The phone kept vibrating until the sound became a dull pulse in the room. I finally reached for it, expecting Nathan's name on the screen, but it was Bethany again. "Monthly transfer today." Not a greeting, not a question softened by concern. Just the same line she sent every month as if I were a bill she managed. Martin heard the vibration stop. "Is it her?" "Yes. What does she want?" "What she always wants," I said. He closed his eyes briefly. After tonight, I typed nothing at first. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, my breath tight. Years of habit pressed up against the decision I had made at the White Cliffs table habit that whispered, keep the peace, keep them supported, keep giving. But peace had already been broken. A second message appeared. Nathan said to remind you, the words settled into me like stones, not in anger, but in recognition. Recognition of the pattern I had fed and enabled. Martin spoke softly. Evelyn, whatever you type, I am with you. I looked at him. His face was steady, but his jaw was set in a way that showed his own patience had worn thin. I typed slowly, pressing each letter as if anchoring myself. Not anymore. Then I set the phone face down on the table for a moment. Neither of us breathed. It felt like stepping out of a room I had lived in for decades. A few seconds later, the phone lit again, then again. The vibration was sharper now, more frantic. A call from Nathan, then another, then a message, longer this time. I did not reach for it. Martin rose and placed his hand on my shoulder. You finally said it. I did. We stood there as the phone buzzed between us, filling the room with a new kind of noise, one that sounded like the start of something neither of us could take back. I walked toward the hallway, leaving the phone trembling on the table. By late morning, I could no longer hear the vibrations of my phone. I had turned it face down, lowered the volume, and walked away from it as if it were a pot left to boil over. Martin stayed nearby, quiet but present, letting me move at my own pace. I opened the drawer of my desk. The old folders inside had been untouched for months, maybe years. But I knew exactly what I was looking for. Are you sure you want to do this now? Martin asked gently from the doorway. I need to see it, I said. All of it. I pulled out the first folder. Thin sheets of bank statements, dates highlighted in yellow, transfers of $300, $600, sometimes over $1,000. And then the bigger ones, the down payment of $20,000 for Nathan and Bethy's first condo. The $4,000 I wired when their car broke down. The student loan payment I covered when Nathan was laid off. 7 years of receipts, 7 years of giving quietly. Martin stepped closer. You kept every record. I had to. I said at the time I told myself it was only so I would not forget what I had already paid, but now I think I kept them to remind myself I was doing something worthwhile. He picked up one statement. This one alone is over $2,000. There are dozens more. My voice cracked, not from the money, but from the memories buried inside each line item, moments I had been grateful to help, moments I believed would bring us closer. I pulled out an envelope stuffed with printed messages. Times Nathan had written, "Thanks, Mom, I'll pay you back someday." Times Bethany had added, "We'll handle it next month." Promises that floated away the moment things stabilized. I placed everything on the desk in a neat stack. This is the truth, I said softly. Martin rested a hand on my shoulder. Then let them see it. I looked at the records. 7 years of generosity reduced to expectation, then to entitlement. The story was all there, written in dates and numbers I could no longer ignore. By early afternoon, the phone had finally fallen silent. The quiet felt strange, almost staged, and I could feel Martin watching me as if expecting the next tremor. But the tremor came in a different form. A knock on the door. It was Caroline, our neighbor from 2 houses down. She had seen Nathan's car parked at our place the night before and assumed something was wrong. "I do not want to intrude," she said gently, "but I think I should tell you something." Martin stepped aside, letting her in. I could already feel the tension in her voice, something she had rehearsed but did not want to say. Caroline sat at the edge of the sofa. "I was at a barbecue at the White Cliffs last month. I did not plan to bring this up, but after last night, I think you need to hear it." My palms tightened. "Go on. They were talking about you," she said quietly. They were speaking loudly about how they rely on Mom's help to manage expenses. And Caroline overheard the conversation. Martin's jaw locked. They said that Caroline nodded. One of their cousins asked what they would do if the support stopped. Judith laughed and said, "Evelyn would never cut us off. She lives to be useful." The words hit harder than any insult Nathan had mouthed. Caroline hesitated again. Bethany hinted at trying to influence holiday plans, but spoke as if joking among family. "Something about shaping him properly," Martin muttered under his breath. "Shaping him? Unbelievable." I steadied myself. "Thank you for telling me," she touched my arm. "I am sorry. I did not want to hurt you, but you deserve to know what they are doing." After she left, Martin turned to me. "They are not just entitled, they are building their lives on what you give." I looked at the folders on the desk. 7 years of support, feeding a family who saw me as nothing more than a resource. Their panic suddenly made sense. Martin exhaled slowly. Now we know what they really wanted. The house settled into a heavy quiet after Caroline left. I could feel Martin pacing behind me, the weight of something unsaid gathering in every step. When he finally stopped, I knew he had decided to let it out. Evelyn, he said softly, sit with me a moment. I turned to him. His face looked older than it had yesterday. Tired, shadowed by years he hadn't spoken about. There is something I should have told you a long time ago. I lowered myself onto the couch. What is it? Martin took a slow breath. I confronted Nathan once years back before he married Bethany. I blinked. Confronted him about what? He rubbed the back of his neck. The way he'd talk to you, the small jabs, the dismissive tone. I told him he needed to show you respect. He told me I was overreacting. My chest tightened. Why did you never tell me? Because I thought it would hurt you more, he said, and I thought he would grow out of it. I hoped marriage, responsibility, adulthood would fix whatever was hardening in him. And it only got worse. Martin lowered his eyes. I saw it. I saw every moment he turned away from you. I should have stepped in again. Why did you not? My voice came out softer than I expected. He looked at me then, pain rising through his expression. Because I thought you wanted peace. Because I assumed you wanted peace and I didn't want to push when I thought it would make things worse. And because I was afraid if I pushed too hard, I would make it worse for you. I reached for his hand. You were trying to protect me. I failed, he whispered. No, I said, squeezing gently. We both survived by staying quiet, but that is ending now. Martin lifted his head, shoulders easing for the first time in days. Then we faced the next part together, he said. I nodded, feeling something shift between us, a truth finally spoken. A space opening where we could finally breathe. Nathan and Bethany arrived just after 6. They did not knock gently. The doorbell rang twice, sharp and impatient. As if they were walking into a meeting they intended to control, Martin opened the door before they could press it a third time. Nathan stepped inside first. Mom, we need to talk now. Bethany followed, chin lifted, eyes full of the cold confidence she always reserved for people she thought she outranked. This whole situation has gotten out of hand. We deserve an explanation. I stood by the dining table, the stack of folders and printed messages laid out neatly in front of me. You will have one, I said. Sit down. Nathan hesitated, thrown off by my tone. What is all this? 7 years, I replied. 7 years of support. I thought it was time we reviewed it together, Bethany scoffed. If this is about the transfer, it is about everything, I said. Martin pulled out a chair for me. I stayed standing. I opened the first folder and slid it across the table. These are bank statements, transfers made for your student loans, your car repairs, rent shortages, the $20,000 we gave for your down payment. Nathan's face drained of color. Mom, I told you I would pay you back someday. I nodded. You did, and I believed you. I opened another folder. These are messages from Bethany, requests for help with bills, reminders about dates, notes about us being late with support. Bethy's jaw tightened. That is not fair. We were under pressure. So was I said evenly, but I never treated you like a schedule to manage. Nathan looked between us, confused, defensive, ashamed. Why bring this up now? Because last night, I said quietly, you mouthed the trash belongs outside and the people who smirked with you have been using my support to hold up their lifestyle. I did not know that until today. Bethy's lips parted. That is not, it is, Martin cut in. We heard it from someone who was there. Nathan's shoulders sagged. Mom, I did not mean you did, I said, but even if you had not said it, the truth was coming anyway. The support ends, the expectations end, the disrespect ends. He lowered his head into his hands. Bethany folded her arms, her voice sharp. So what are you saying? You are abandoning us. No, I replied. I am letting you stand on your own. They were visibly unsettled, unsure how to respond. Nathan finally lifted his head, eyes brimming with something raw. I did not know it had come to this. I closed the last folder. Now you do. The truth was on the table. Pages of it, years of it, and none of it could be taken back. Nathan and Bethany left in a rush of stiff movements and unfinished sentences. Martin closed the door behind them, but I knew the real noise would begin once they reached the Wycliffe's house. It did not take long. The first message came an hour later, this time not from Bethany, but from Nathan. Mom, we need to talk again. Alone, he arrived without her. His shoulders were tense, his expression dazed, as if someone had yanked a thread he did not know was holding his world together. Martin stepped aside to give us space. Nathan sat at the edge of the sofa. I talked to Bethy's parents. I stayed standing and his throat worked. Mom, they are in trouble, real trouble, more than I knew. I waited. They have credit card debt in the tens of thousands, a home equity loan they never told anyone about. They used some of our monthly support to cover interest. His voice cracked. They told Bethany not to tell me. They said I would panic and make things worse. I inhaled slowly. Did you know they depended on my transfers to stay afloat? He shook his head, shame flooding his face. I swear I did not. They said your help was optional, something you offered freely, and when I said no, everyone panicked. Nathan pressed both hands over his face. Judith told me last month that you were lucky to have us, that you wanted to feel needed, Martin, from the hallway, muttered. Unbelievable! Nathan lifted his eyes to me. The anger was gone, only confusion remained. Mom, why did I not see any of this? I sat down slowly. Because they shaped the story and you let them. He flinched, but he did not look away. They used you, I continued, and you used me. Maybe without meaning to, but it happened. Nathan's voice fell to a whisper. I need to fix this. Martin stepped forward. Then start by telling the truth to all of them and to yourself. Nathan nodded, the first real acknowledgement in years. The weight of his choices settling heavy across the room. His next breath trembled. Mom, I do not know how to face what I allowed to happen. I looked at him, my son, finally seeing the cracks he had helped create. Nathan returned the next evening, this time without calling first. Martin opened the door, then stepped aside so our son could walk in. There was no urgency in his movements now, only the quiet weight of someone finally prepared to face the truth. Nathan stood in front of me. Mom, I owe you an apology, a real one. I folded my hands in my lap. Go on, he swallowed hard. I let them shape the way I saw you. I let them talk about you like you were less, and I did not stop it. I did not protect you. I did not even think about protecting you. His voice tightened. I repeated their words because I wanted to fit in. I wanted their approval. Martin's jaw clenched. At your mother's expense. Nathan nodded, eyes lowered. I know, and I'm sorry for every moment you felt small because of me. I let the silence stretch long enough for him to feel the full weight of what he had said. Then I spoke. Nathan, I forgive you, but things will not go back to how they were. He lifted his eyes. I understand. No more monthly support, I said. No more stepping in to fix emergencies you do not take responsibility for, and no more letting other people tell you who your parents are. Nathan exhaled shakily. I want to earn back your trust, not buy it with excuses. Martin stepped closer. Then start by standing on your own. For the first time, Nathan nodded without pushing back. I will. He left a few minutes later, quieter, steadier, and carrying the truth he could no longer ignore. After the door closed, Martin sat beside me. You did the right thing. I know, I said. For the first time in years, I feel like I came home to myself. He smiled softly. So what now? I leaned into him, letting the stillness of our living room settle around us. A stillness not born of fear, but of peace, reclaimed. Now I said, we build our life on our terms.